Hey, this is video number 10 in exposing the corruption, manipulation, perjury, two-facedness of our current Republican Party leadership in Surry County. And I am going to share some more text shortly to show some of that two-facedness. But what I said I would touch base in this video number 10 was how a witness who told somebody she didn't know who Mark Jones was and never saw him over there could go from saying that one day to testifying in court about how Mark Jones lived over there, or how Mark Jones was over at the campground. After the PI had came in, and we were aware that the complaint was being made against Mark Jones, I have texts where Gail Norman sent out wanting us all to meet over there, and I didn't go, and I applaud one or two more who were involved that didn't go to get in photos. But they wanted all of us to meet over there at the campground around the camper and have photos, and the kids were going to come in, and we were going to show like Mark Jones was having a happy family living in this campground, just to fake evidence, if you will, because he wasn't living there. If he had been, there would have been no discussion among us about trying to cover it up or produce evidence that it was happening. But anyway, what happened once we knew that the complaint had been made that Mark Jones didn't live there, I went over there with Mark Jones. Mark Jones and I rode over to the campground, and we spent an hour, hour and a half, I don't think it was 2 hours, but an hour, hour and a half, going from camper to camper to camper, spending time talking to people, and Mark Jones introduced himself. And this was after the lady said she'd never met Mark Jones. We went to her and talked to her. Of course, I don't think we knew at the time that she was going to be a witness. But anybody we saw in the campground that day, we stopped and talked to them. Some of them we spent 30 minutes talking to them, and Mark Jones would introduce himself. Hey, I'm Mark Jones, North Carolina Wildlife. That's my camper over there. I'm not there very often. I travel and work a lot. I'm not there very often, but that's my truck, so just so you don't worry about it, or so you know who I am, I just want to let you know so you didn't wonder who was staying over there. And so we even helped a guy load a golf cart. He was backed up over near the pond that's near where Mark Jones' camper was at. He was loading a golf cart, and so we helped him load a golf cart. Mark Jones introduced him to him. So we went around the campground to these people that didn't have any idea who Mark Jones was and introduced Mark Jones. And so what happened between the time that the lady was talked to first and the time the lady was talked to in court and under oath, she testified to what she knew, but what she knew was what Mark Jones had told her when I was with him. And that's what she testified to in court. Oh, he works a lot and he's there occasionally, and it's exactly what we told her, basically programmed her, I guess you would say, because she hadn't seen Mark Jones before we introduced him. And I can't remember if that was my idea. It might have been, but we went over and met everybody in the campground that we could find, and shook hands and introduced ourselves, helped a guy load his golf cart. And so that's how the lady didn't know Mark Jones at first when she was initially talked to, and then said she did know him and know about him the second time when she was under oath, and that was the flaw in the Board of Elections hearing, I believe, and I'll talk to them about it in the future, because I don't want this to ever happen in our county again, because there's a few things they could do. They're really simple to fix the problem. What happened, we found out what evidence they were bringing, and we went out and basically created evidence to the contrary because we knew what they were going to present. And so we, like talking to those people, we implied, showed, whatever you want to do. But again, I, at that time, believed Mark Jones was telling the truth. I believe Kevin Chenault was telling the truth. I believe Gail Norman was telling the truth, just like many others. But after the fact, after they'd laid their hand on the Bible and after the final hearing, I found out quite by accident. I'm going to share that, but I'm going to save that till closer to the end here to share, because there's a person, and several people might get put under some pressure up in Marion, Virginia. But I will tell you that I lived there for 3 years, so I probably know as many or more people in Marion as Mark Jones does. But it is kind of ironic that Kevin Chenault comes from Rural Retreat and Mark Jones comes from Rural Retreat, and we're letting them divide Surry County. We've never been like this in the history of Surry County that I can recall. And I'm not talking about Democrats and Republicans. I'm talking about Republicans and Republicans. So anyway, that's how the evidence changed, and that's because the lady went from not knowing Mark Jones to knowing Mark Jones because we spent 20 or 30 minutes introducing Mark Jones to her and telling her why he wasn't there all the time and all of that. And so she basically came to court and told exactly what we told her that day because she took it to be the truth from Mark Jones and others in the court, but they just subpoenaed the one lady. Anyway, a short video, and that's my personal knowledge. And I'll tell you, I don't have anything in writing for that, but God is my witness. If I never see my kids again, my daughter came up this past weekend, God bless her, and we went, and hadn't seen her in a bit because she got a new job. Pray for her and my son. My son's doing well. I got some good news on him I want to share later. Pray for them. They've been through a lot. And I could get them on here. Definitely my daughter. And my daughter could swear and would swear to all of this that I'm telling you because she lived here and she saw it. She knew what was going on. So they were with me at meetings. They were with me when things happened. So they watched it on their own. But anyway, that's my personal knowledge because I went with Mark over there to talk to the people in the campground. Same thing, another thing we did over there after the PI got involved, I was crawling on my belly looking around under the truck for trackers, under his state truck and under his truck to make sure they couldn't track him because he was going to Virginia. What would it matter if they were tracking him if he was going to the campground? It wouldn't have. So he was worried about trackers on his vehicle, and I was, from my law enforcement days and from being a PI, I had saw several of those, and of course I've had them on my personal vehicles and things like that to make sure they, if somebody stole them. I actually got one in my car right now in case somebody stole my car. Anyway, that's how the evidence changed from initially talking to the lady to not, because we introduced Mark Jones between the first hearing and the second hearing, or sometime in there during the hearings process, and we created that evidence because they couldn't testify that Mark Jones was there until we went there and introduced him, and he explained why he wasn't there very much. And then the lady came to court and told why he wasn't there very much. God bless Surry County. # stop the Surry County steal. Surry County, we got to be salt and light and stand against this kind of thing. A little more coming. Here Kevin Chenault's been going around bad-mouthing me, but he's not doing it to me. I'm coming out publicly. If they want to come on here and call me a liar, I'll throw the evidence right at them. Boom, boom, boom. But they won't do that. They're doing exactly what they've done through the whole time they've divided this county. They're sending private messages out to people, a little here and a little there, bad-mouthing this one, bad-mouthing that one. And he's been sending them out today and been around bad-mouthing me, and another one has too. Funny thing, they're calling me a liar when Mark Jones used the N-word at the Salt and Light Conference. They're calling, he's got people, his minions, if you will, out calling me a liar. Kevin Chenault's one of them. But they weren't even there. They weren't even at the convention. So they weren't even at the suite that day. Again, if Mark Jones wants to unblock me, I don't have him blocked. If he wants to unblock me and call me a liar, I'll post the lady's name and phone number, and anybody that wants to can call her and she'll verify it. And the grain of salt of anybody else there would do the same thing. And I believe they do. I believe they're good people, and they got caught up in this stuff as well. I'm asking them to help me fix it. We got to fix this mess. I'm going fishing. I'm not seeking any position. God bless Surry County. # stop the Surry County steal. More to come.